I was falsely accused of rape. But now, how it happened, it was also very strange.
Yeah.
I came to Gauteng. We came. I think it was It was the 24th of March.
Yeah.
The Easter on that year was going to be a week after the 6th.
Okay.
Yes. So we came. The next thing I knew, on the 6th of April, this was a Saturday before the Good Friday.
Yeah.
A police officer by the name Detective Sibeko came to my place of residence when I'm in Gauteng, which was my mother's house.
Oh, yes.
He came and he said to me, there's a case that has been opened against me, and I need to go with him to write my own statement. I asked him what was the case about. He did not say at that time. And then, but he appeared to be very upset. He appeared to be very upset. This is, and then I said to him, "Kodwa baba, usibeke uyabona ukuthi ungilimazi." I was bleeding.
Yeah.
Then he said he doesn't sympathize, but he said this in our vernacular. He said, "Angihleki nabadlwenguli mina."
Oh.
So that was odd.
So
now I know that I'm being accused of rape. But the number of people who raped me was 7.
Sure.
And none of them were prosecuted in any way. It was almost as if there's someone who says this group is going to be responsible for raping all the men that comes in prison. Told them this. They were told that I'm a rapist, but no one came and told them
that you are
that
not.
no, it's actually not.
Sure.
So I had to go to churches, ask Abefundisi to talk about it on
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm sorry for that. I have a problem. No, it's understandable, man. It's an experience that you don't want to. Yeah. No. So not right. Yeah. In the meantime, I feel too. Hello and welcome to Ngothoretan Lifestyle. Please make sure that you subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our first episode. Here we are talking about the wrongfully arrested people. This is the South Africans who has never committed any crime, but they were wrongfully accused, of doing things that they didn't do. So with me here, I'm with Mongameli, my brother. How's it?
I'm okay, thanks yourself.
Good, man. Can you please introduce yourself to our viewers at home? Ubani, uphuma kuphi, uhlala kuphi?
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Mongameli Goodman Shabalala.
Yeah.
I am a Sowetan, originally from the Eastern Cape, but we are based in Soweto, in a small neighborhood called Protea City.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm a 39-year-old now, and yes.
Oh, beautiful. I know Utu Mongameli. Tell us about yourself. Uti, ukuze ube last corner njengamanje. I know Uti, you are wrongfully accused.
Yes.
Understand?
Yes.
Just tell us the background of this case. Before you got arrested, the background, what happened. I know which is your niece.
Yes.
Just tell our viewers at home what happened.
Okay. Yeah. I'm the eldest in my family. I have 2 sibling sisters, and then my younger sister, Utsepiso, fell pregnant while she was doing her second year at varsity.
Yeah.
And at that time already, I had been working, and I had what other people would say a better quality of life.
Yeah.
So I was in a position to be, I think, able to assist my sister. So yes, when she fell pregnant, and then we kind of like had 2 options. It was either she was going to drop out having to look after the child, and then maybe with hope that maybe she will be able to go back to varsity. But knowing our situational factors, if she had dropped out, that would have been it for her. She would have not been given another opportunity. So I think as a family or as an elder brother, I decided to step in and assist. So I said, no, it's okay. She can continue with her studies. After the baby is here, I will look after the baby because of the father of the child had kind of like not been in the picture or was not stepping up. Yes. So after having the baby, we waited until she weaned the child from the breast, and then the child came to stay with me in East London, where I was working and residing at that time.
And when was this?
This was 2014. The child was born in 2014 in September. And then 2014, it was the 26th of December. I was here in Johannesburg, and then we kind of like made that decision that, okay, since it seems like the father of the child is not going to be stepping up, you still need to go on with life and, make the best out of the situation that you currently have.
Exactly.
Yes. So that's when the child ended up with me. Came January, we left Gauteng, and we went back to the Eastern Cape, and now it was her first time in the Eastern Cape with me. And I think the arrangement at that time was that it was until my sister completes her studies and then maybe gets a job, or if she's still looking for a job, but at least she would be qualified to do something. And then she will be then with her child. Yes. So I think in the interim or during that period, we kind of like grew some form of comfortability around this. I think it happens with all adults and with all children.
Exactly.
The fear is if the child is not there and the child is coming, what are we going to do? But when the child is already there, because of we are grown-ups, we make life to move on, and then we finally know what to do. So yes, after 6 months, 8 months, I think we were now comfortable with that situation, and we knew what to do and when to do it. And then immediately after her studies, that was now in 2015.
And sorry, how old is she?
My sister at that time, she was 24 at that time. Yes,
still young.
She was 24 when she completed her studies. She was 22 when she had the baby. Yes.
Right,
And then immediately when she finished, she had already gotten a learnership, which was going to kind of like give her an internship program with a bank. So at least it was something promising. And we kind of like said, okay, let's wait for this internship and see where it's going to put us. And the second year, 2016, the child remained with me. And she was now no longer a baby. She was becoming a toddler. She was now learning to do things. She was already walking. She was already walking. And I think we never thought about or thought it through as to what is she going to call me. She never called me Dada. Funny enough, she used to call me Mume. Yes. Okay. She's now 11 years old, and she still does call me that.
Wow. Okay.
So when she turned 2 years old, she was now, in a kindergarten, a crèche, and things were going okay. We had learned to kind of like do with and move around with the situation as it was, and it was no longer burdensome. It was becoming now our normal situation, our normal life. And we carried on until she was 3 years old. Then when she turned 3, we then started to migrate her back to Gauteng, where her mother was at. We did that in 2018 and then leading to 2019. So she was staying in Gauteng and would sometimes go and visit me in the Eastern Cape, and she would then come back, but her place of residence was now in Gauteng, in Soweto, with her mother. And in 2019, February, she came to visit the Eastern Cape, And then at that during that period, we were planning that in April of 2019 we were going to come to Gauteng. So that is when she's going to come back home.
Oh, yes.
She's coming. We were coming for Easter holidays, and then she was going to be left behind when I go back.
Yeah.
And then that was the unfortunate period that I got. I was falsely accused of rape. But now, how it happened, it was also very strange.
Yeah.
I came to Gauteng. We came. I think it was the 24th of March.
Yeah.
The Easter on that year was going to be a week after the 6th.
Okay.
Yes. So we came back to Gauteng, and the father of the child normally would sometimes, show face.
Yeah.
During those, I'm not sure if he was following me on Facebook or what.
Oh, yeah.
But when I'm in Gauteng,
Oh, you post.
yes, I normally would post not only about my movements, but about social events.
Oh, yeah.
I used to work for Anova Health, which used to promote HIV prevention throughout the country, and social media was one of our tools that we used to, interact with young people. So I think he knew that I was in Gauteng and the child was in Gauteng.
Yeah.
And then he would normally come and say he just wants to see the child. And that would normally be communicated with my mother or with my sister, and most of the time in my absence. I think so. So on that weekend, he came and asked if he could take the child to Kimberley. I was at home and I refused. And the reason I think I would say why I refused was that he had never taken the child away from us before. He had never asked to go away with the child. So we normally would just come and be with the child with us. And now my niece had never been to the Northern Cape. And we had never had a sit down with her and explain who is this uncle.
And how old is she?
At that time, she was 4 years.
Oh, okay.
She was 4 years and 4 months at that time. And I think that was, in my mind, the crack of the whole false accusation. So I refused that he took the child to Kimberley with him.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I knew, on the 6th of April, this was a Saturday before the Good Friday.
Yeah.
A police officer by the name Detective Sibeko came to my place of residence when I'm in Gauteng, which was my mother's house.
Oh, yes.
He came and he said to me, there's a case that has been opened against me, and I need to go with him to write my own statement. I asked him what was the case about. He did not say at that time. And then, but he appeared to be very upset. He appeared to be very upset. This is, what I would say is police, nurses, social workers, doctors, in a society, we kind of like know each other. We call each other Msevens, we work for the same government.
Exactly.
So this is someone that I've seen. It's not a stranger. It's someone that I've seen before. Someone that I know who works where. So for him to be that upset also was bothersome. To say, I want to speak what is in So I tried to suck it out from him. What is the case about?
Wrong,
And at that time I thought, because of I don't reside in Soweto, I thought it must have been a mistake that is associated with road rage.
Oh, yes.
Because of I drive a white car, and I thought, okay, mhlambe somebody did something on the road and they thought Mongameli.
Yeah, exactly.
So I asked him, do you want me to follow you? Or do you want me to come with you? I was suggesting that I follow him. I drive in my private car and then I would follow him.
Exactly, yeah.
So he said, no. If you want to make this difficult, then it's going to be difficult. Then I thought, okay, let me just cooperate.
Yeah, exactly.
And after Sibuya, there was a mistake or a misunderstanding. Yes, and that's when he took me into the van. He placed me at the back of the van.
Sure.
And I was not worried, I think, at that moment. Then,
Okay. So
as it was unfolding.
did he explain to you why is he taking you?
No, he just said, I'm going to write a statement, using your policy statement,
Yeah.
police station yethu iProtealand.
Yeah.
But for things like i-statement nananzenzwa Protealand police station Protea North. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not far from where I stay. It's a walkable distance. It's not a very close walkable distance, but it's a distance that I normally would walk.
Okay. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, understand?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, ngihambe naye. But when we got outside, I realized that no, he's not driving a police van. It's not a branded van.
It's a private van. Yeah.
I kind of like wanted to ask some
Yeah.
more, and I think that's it also made him very upset. Yeah, and he started raising his voice, and neighbors were now coming out watching, and it was becoming an embarrassing situation. So I just okay, let me just go with him.
Yeah.
And wangithatha kanjalo ke. I don't know why I got into the van because I feel if I didn't, maybe things would have unfolded differently.
Yeah.
But I got into the van and then he drove off.
Okay, what kind of a van is this? Is it like a police van or like ingendlela emakhona nje uma kwayo?
It's a Nissan NP300.
Okay.
It's a normal buggy that your neighbor can buy.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's a one cab and it's a 2x1.
Oh, single cab.
Yeah, single cab. So, but I think later on, now this was when I was at the police station with him, I realized it was a state vehicle because of the number plate.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but when it was unfolding, I didn't
check
this. So on our way as we were driving, I think with an intention to hurt me.
To hurt you from exactly.
He would drive very fast, and then especially when we were approaching those street humps.
Oh yes.
He would hit on them, and then put a dead brick, and then I would swing to
the front,
to bang, and I think I was afraid at that time, thinking.
And now you're confused.
Yeah.
What's going on? Yeah.
Mhlawumbe lo muntu uzongilimaza because of bengakarealize which is a state vehicle, and even if it was a state vehicle, why would he do that to me? You understand?
Yeah.
And also the direction that he took, because of he said we were going to a Protealand police station. We were now driving far from Impala Road, and I thought he's taking me as far.
Like they're kidnapping you now.
Yeah, but again, I was a little bit comfortable with the fact that neighbors know him.
Yeah.
So neighbors saw that I was taken by Sibeko, and he took me with a van in black, and people were watching.
Yeah.
But eventually we came to a stop at Protea North police station. Ngase Kunen Street.
Yeah.
And then by then I'd already sustained injuries on my face and on my elbows and knees. And when we got there, I think because of my screaming at the back and shouting, he had gone or grown more upset.
Yeah.
So when we got to the police station, he grabbed me by the collar of the hoodie that I was wearing, and then dragged me out of the van. So that's when I went out and landed on my foot, and then it broke. Yes. So I have a bimalleolar fracture, which has been addressed with screws and metal plates. Yeah.
Wow.
He was now no longer, I think he had changed. He was no longer the person that I knew.
You knew, yeah.
And everything was just very strange. And also because of it was late, everything was also becoming scary. It was winter times at about past 4 when we got there. Shadows had already gotten a little bit longer than normal. And we didn't go through the police station the way I know the police station. We were now at the back of the police station. There were high walls, and I decided, you know what, if there's anything that's going to save me now is maybe be as calm and as cooperative and humble as you can. Because I couldn't see people there. It was getting late. I was now in a strange place. with this very angry person.
Mm.
Yes. So we went into the police station, and after a few corridors, we came by a place that had people. The first police officer that I noticed was Mufokeng. His badge was written Mufokeng.
Okay, yeah.
And then he asked, now, sekwenzekeni manje? Because I was now bleeding. I had a cut above my eye, and there were now bruises that were visible, and I was soiled. My clothes were dirty.
Yeah. And now can you walk?
I was limping, but I didn't feel a lot of pain. Yeah, I just felt like my foot had gone loose. Yeah, and because of he was pulling me, he was providing much more of the support of the pull.
Oh yes,
yeah. All I could do was just to follow the
lead. Yeah.
And then when we got there, he gave me a pen and he said, "I must sign there." You know, already there was
a statement already.
No, there was no statement, but they call it the rights form, a piece of paper that you say your rights have been read for you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you are signing the rights form, and Fundela my rights now.
I don't even know what my charges are, what I've been charged with. But already I'm signing because of the situation is already like that. Signed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then finally, Manko took sign. Then the officer who Mufokeng said I must take off my shoelaces, and because of I was wearing a tracksuit that had that rope.
Yeah.
So I had to take out that lace from the hood. Yes. And then I asked him, "Hey, bathi ngenzeni? Why ngiboshwa?" Athi batho rape ubani hayi uzozwa phambili. Then Sibeko came back with a bag where I'm not supposed to put on my phone, my shoelaces and my belt on it. And then I said to him, what about Sibeko? I was bleeding.
Yeah.
Then he said he doesn't sympathize, but he said this in our vernacular. He said, "Angihleki nabadlwemuli mina." So that was odd. So now I know that I'm being accused of rape. I'm now thinking,
and don't even know who's that.
Who would have I raped? There was a police lady. I'm not sure the rank because of she was wearing a big jacket. It was winter.
Yeah.
She was wearing a big jacket, so I couldn't see her badge. But she sounded like she wanted to sympathize with me. You know, said, "Manje makaselimele kanje."
Oh yes. Yeah.
So, but you know, bayongifunela ama-plaster. I'm not yet in a cell. I'm still at that small church.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yes. And then she walked. She was using a walking frame. She walked, and then. And that is when Mufokeng took me to the holding cells.
Yeah.
Then I was locked up there. I was alone at that time. And then later on, Mufokeng came again with now the plasters.
Oh, yes.
And he offered me some cigarettes. And I said, "No, I'm paying." But no, because I've never been arrested before.
Wow, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was what then he gave me the cigarettes anyway.
Wow.
Yes.
So this Mufokeng, you don't know him?
Well, I don't know him, but he told me. When I asked him where is he from, can he be able to help, and when inform my family ukuthi he said no, akahlala esayidini naseProtea uhlala eDlamini. And if he knows someone ohlala ngaseProtea uzamtshela ukuthi hayi kithi kuku ngitshela ukuthi no angikho kude naseMdlalose makafike nje eMdlalose noma utshele bani athi umongameli lo weNES bambophile police station, people will be able to get the word out to my family.
Exactly.
Yes. So, and that was the last time I saw Detective Sibeko on that day. He came back to me. Now this was on Sunday, and
when was that? Also,
it was on Saturday late afternoon. But when he came back, it was Sunday towards midnight. It was if it was not midnight, but it was close to midnight because of I remember that on 12 we were going to be moved from the cells that we were on to the other holding cells where we will be picked up by vans that will take us to court. So at 12, When 12
So,
p.m.
or
on
AM.
Sunday, 12 a.m. On Sunday, meaning that at 12 it will be Monday morning.
Exactly,
Yes. We were then moved to other cells where we'll be closer to the area that will be easy for the police bikies to pick us up.
Let's go back to Saturday.
Yes.
Ufike Saturday ulimele, and then where do you sleep? Are you still alone in the cell?
I was alone in the cell until the time where they would Mr. Mfugeng would come, and then I asked him, "Can you please help me? My name is so and so, and I need your assistance in this way."
Yeah.
Yes, and then he said, "No, it was on a Saturday. Ziba ziningi iboshwa ngeweekend akuna court, so nizolinda Monday. So ungawari basazuza abanye." And now those were people that were arrested, but most of them were drunk people and
driving and all that.
And at that time, and I was now in pain. The foot had started swelling, and in my mind, I didn't think it had fractured. I thought it had sprung. I thought it in binyeki. I didn't think it would be a fracture because I didn't hear the cracking sound when it happened. So the foot started swelling. So on Sunday, when they were moving us, I could not move.
Wow.
And that's when I think the other police, besides Mufukeng, started knowing Uguti Ngilimele, and it's a serious injury that would cause problems for them as well.
Yes.
So the vans came. It was about 5 o'clock, I think. The vans came. Bastata manje baskiphe emaseleni, but when I was left in that
because of Limele.
I could not move. And Usbego came, and then he charged me. He did the fingerprints. He took my fingerprints, and then he said that there's a statement in the file, and the statement, Sivulo Sepo Alfred Makubu, do I know him? I said, yes, I know him. He's my niece's father. So in my mind now I'm thinking maybe he's saying I raped him. I don't know. Because I'm arrested for rape, and the person who opened the statement is Sepo Makubu. To my shock, I raped his daughter.
Your niece.
My niece. Then it was another set of confusion, now I have new questions to ask. Where is she? Because of the last time I saw her, she was at home. So I'm now worried. If she's raped, it means corner or
exactly
inside, So I'm thinking my niece is raped and usolwa me. So, but he charged me, and we waited until, and thinking that I was going to be taken to hospital or something. Even I figure, then they said I should go to court, and then the magistrate then will decide what my fate is going to be. So Mangfigure Court, it was court 13. Magistrate in Tinkulu was the presiding officer, and then I did not have legal representation. So we were taken there in groups. So I was in another group of 6 people that I didn't know. Then I appeared in front of the magistrate. She asked on Monday, and she asked if I know or understand the charges that had been brought against me. I said no. She said it's sexual assault. Do I understand what is sexual assault? I said yes, I understand what is sexual assault, but I don't know who I sexual assaulted. Said, do you know about Utsilo Makubu? Said, yes, that's my niece. Said, yes, we've sexually assaulted Utsilo Makubu. Yes. And then you are going to have options. Either you're going to represent yourself, you're going to need a private lawyer that you can call, or you will use state will provide you with illegal aid. I said, I would like to have a private lawyer, but I don't think my family knows it, so I'll need assistance. Then they said legal aid will assist. A gentleman from legal aid approached the bench and said he will represent me for today. And then that's the first person I asked, which is to look for my family, tell them where I'm at, and then they will be able to take care of me.
Wow. And then, okay, you're saying it's because of, you worship because of what's happened.
Yes.
Yini motivated him to to accuse you ngala ndlela le, or maybe falsify ngandlela falsify ngakho?
I honestly wouldn't say I know what it's this.
Yeah.
I would say I think, or I suspect, or I've never had a one-on-one conversation with him, a full conversation with him, to find out exactly what is it that I did to make him do that. Because of the charge, you see, if my niece was raped, and I was suspected to be the culprit, to me, I think it would make sense. Okay, umntwana ohlala nomalume wakhe, umalume une-access kulo mntwana, and it's the only male figure that is that close to the child ukuthi engakwazi ukwenza without other people knowing. You understand?
Yeah.
To me, it would have made sense, but it didn't make sense to me after I was released from prison. So while I was still going through the whole case, I thought my niece had been raped, and I'm being suspected. So my wish here was bankipe, so that we can work together to try to find out who did it.
Exactly.
Because I honestly thought, my niece was raped and I'm being suspected.
Wow.
So he deliberately and knowingly accused me, knowing that I did not commit the crime, and I was not guilty of what he accused me of doing. So, but he accused me of that. So I won't say it was a false accusation.
Okay.
No, it was not a false accusation. He deliberately accused me of a crime that he knew that I did not commit.
Yeah. And then afterwards, then did you get a lawyer as a representative?
Yes, my family finally, because my family tells me that on Saturday night they went to Protea North at the Protea Glen police station to look for me. They were told I was not there, I was at Moroka.
Okay.
They went to Moroka, and at Moroka they showed them the register that there's no one by that name who had been admitted with that name. So no one knew my whereabouts. My family did not know about my whereabouts. On Saturday, on Sunday, it was only on Monday afternoon when the legal aid person had made plans to inform my family as to where to find me and where I'm at.
And normally when there's a rape case, there will be maybe medical investigations, and maybe the social workers will be there, and then by checking which is indeed rape and all that. Was that process done with your case?
It was not done according to my knowledge at that time. When I was still in custody, I thought the process had been done. Because
maybe you tested positive. They tested positive. That's what you thought. Or whatever. Not you per se, but then whatever that happened, like Gucci, like as you're saying, Gucci, you thought Gucci she was raped by maybe someone else.
Yes.
So, or you are saying you thought Gucci it was the AMA test and everything was done before.
No, I wouldn't say I thought AMA test had been done, but I assumed that for them to issue a warrant of arrest, there has to be at least examination conducted by a medical officer. At least that I thought. But there had not been anyone who came to me at that time to ask if they could collect a mucosa splash from me or DNA analysis or DNA profiling. There was nothing like that done. So in my mind, I thought my niece had been raped. Maybe there's a rape kit, and then they are waiting for results to say there is a foreign specimen found in her body or something like that.
And now I heard you saying that you stayed in jail for 112 days.
Yes.
Which is around 3 months. And
it was 4 months. It was in a period of 4 months. It's just that with an underlapping of a week.
Oh, okay.
I stayed from the 6th of April 2019, and I was only released on the 24th of July 2014.
And then,
2019.
2019, And then between those days, what is it? Where are you? Are you in Sun City now?
Yes, I was at the Sun City,
Okay.
Johannesburg prison,
Mhm.
and I was charged with a Schedule 6 crime. I was accommodated in a maximum security section
For something that you didn't do.
for something that I didn't, for something that didn't happen
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
of my niece. It turned out
In
when
fact, yeah, it didn't
she
happen.
was
Yeah, yeah,
never
yeah. You're
raped
right. Yeah.
in the
Wow.
first place,
Mm.
so it was a cooked up case.
Mhm.
But it took me that far into the criminal justice
Yeah,
system.
and normally in such cases, more figure jail, you'll find a machita lapa will say, yeah, when you repeal and then you'll try to maximize and all that, cause trauma and all that. How was your experience inside there?
It was as raw as it could be imagined. It's something that I haven't really got comfortable talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yes, I have disclosed to some few members of my family as to say I got attacked as well in prison.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is what happened to me. And the sad part is that because I was accused of rape, I don't know. I believe that even the people that I would say the law officials or the law enforcement workers
Yeah.
and even the public in general, they know what happens in prison. If you are a young man, I was 32 years old at that time. If you are a young man,
Yeah. Accused of rape.
accused of rape, even not accused of rape, if you're just a young man in
Oh,
prison,
yeah.
this is what happens to you. I think everyone knows.
Yeah. Sure. And then, is there any maybe because as I said earlier on in about my medication and all that, do you think there was maybe fabrication of information for you, to be to end up with a prison? Because most of the time they need to investigate these people and make sure they arrest you. They're sure. So, do you think there's foul play somewhere as much as like Tsepo and I did that? But do you think there were people who he was communicating with so that they can at least back shifts the community?
Yeah, it's most likely because I mean there's no way you could arrest an innocent man for a crime they did not commit and get as far as a warrant of arrest being issued out on the name of that person.
Yeah.
I mean it is said that my niece was taken to Zela Care Center in Para. Christian Parakwana Academic Hospital has a rape crisis center.
Oh, yes,
Zela Care Center. It's championed by NPA.
Yeah.
So NPA champions that facility. So it means there must have been someone who helped that illegal process for a nurse or a doctor, because of if a child is raped or if a person is raped and is taken to Zela Care Center, that person has to be examined by a medical officer. And it has to be a doctor. But in my niece's case, there was no doctor involved. A name that popped up was the name of a nurse called Patience Bikoli. It's someone that I've never met. It's someone that I'm now beginning to think she's non-existent. I've been to Zela Care Center. This is now post my release. I went to try and talk to the principal there, say to them, this is what happened to me, and Tutuzela played a role in this, and the person was, it seemed like they never had a Patience Bikoli, who is a nurse who worked there, but there is a receipt signed by that nurse Bikoli. I understand there was a J88 form which had details of an 8-year-old child. At that time, my niece was 4, so I'm not sure, but I think there was an 8-year-old child who got raped. Her script was written Butsilo Makubu just so that it fits my niece's profile, and then that was used to seek prosecution for me. And I just, it's a thought, I don't know, because I don't have proof that this is a the J88. I know there was a J88. My lawyer saw a J88, but what was puzzling, it was the age of the victim. When my niece was 4, the age of that victim was 8. And an 8-year-old child cannot be mistakenly identified as a 4-year-old.
Yeah. And we also have about the prosecutors and this Usibeko. With the prosecutor one,
there were 2 prosecutors.
Okay.
Remember, my case was a Schedule 6 case. Which
what does that mean? Sorry. For someone on us. Yeah.
Okay. Schedule 6, iqala eli serious.
High profile.
Yeah, it's a serious charge that can carry, if the person is found, is prosecuted successfully, the person can get a life sentence in prison.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like murder, rape of a child, rape of an adult with aggravating factors, like when a person had a gun or a knife.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was scheduled like that because of Butsilo is my niece. So I have an easy access to her. She's like my daughter.
Exactly.
So if a father rapes a daughter, that constitutes a serious criminal offense. So that is why I was scheduled. My case was scheduled as Schedule 6. So it was taken to court 13.
Yeah.
It was presided by Magistrate Mtimkulu, and the prosecutor in that court was Prosecutor Mbetsi.
Okay.
Yes. I only saw Prosecutor Mbetsi on that first day because of my case was then taken to Court 5 for a bail application. Yes. So it was at Court 5 that I was maliciously prosecuted by Prosecutor Chitsumba in a court that was presided by Magistrate Tice. Yes.
And do you think the 3, Chitsumba and Usibeko and also the Tutuzela, do you think they had a foul in terms of like you seeing yourself in jail?
Yes, and if not deliberately, the prosecutor, the social worker, and the nurse, if not deliberately, I would say they were in cahoots. The reason why I would say this is because of, if you are a forensic nurse, you cannot write a report or write a script of a child that you are not seeing. The child has to be here.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. To examine her,
For you to examine her, you cannot do it alone as a nurse. It must be done by a medical officer. It must be done by a doctor.
Yeah.
You do the observation, meaning you are ufakazi doctor.
Exactly,
the doctor has to do the examination himself, and the doctor is supposed to be the one filling up the J88 because of it's a rape case. So the person who is a perpetrator must be prosecuted. So it cannot be done by a nurse.
And then at this point in time,
Yes.
How is the relationship between the two of you at that point in time?
When I was
when you were in jail,
still in jail. Well, she was very much supportive towards me. She was supportive.
Yeah.
And I think it was through her support that we got a breakthrough because of she had to keep the child away from the police, the social, because of we were now mistrusting them, you know. So whenever they wanted to have an examination or an interview, my sister would say, you know what, I had to tell them at work that I had to be there because of I didn't trust them. I didn't want to be away from the child in case something happens and in case something unlawful happens.
Yeah. And then at that time also, Ingane, did someone take it away or is that
No, not at that time. At that time, the child was still staying with my sister. And you must remember, the child was not staying with my sister as a permanent arrangement. It was not like that.
Yeah.
The child was staying with me.
With you,
She
yes.
would come to visit the mother. You understand? So whenever we are in Gauteng, the child will be at my mother's place, ugogo wengane.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Where the mother can come, where the mother is at, and because of there had never been an incident of not being sure what is happening, my sister has her own house. She would then go and visit her mother mhlambe for a day or two, or mhlambe baye kuma games and come back. But her coming back is to my mother's place where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm glad that your sister, she supported you, because most of the time, if Tomalu and all that, they will be shocked and they will want Uti like and they want to accuse you and all that, and they hate you and all that. But then the experience yang apart, it affected kanjani kangakanani mentally.
I would say it changed me. I mean, I'm not the same person I was before prison. I had never been in prison before. I had never been in conflict with the law. But when it happened, everything was a shocker. I mean, the people who attacked me, I was attacked by 7 people or more. But yes, but the number of people who raped me were 7.
Sure.
And none of them were prosecuted in any way. It was almost as if there's someone who says this group is going to be responsible for raping all the men that comes in prison, and me wanting to take the matter forward, wanting a report to be written. It was like
I mean,
I was good.
You did this thing.
I was good. Kuba kanje vele udlwengula umuntu. So it was an awful experience. It changes your perspective, not only about life but about people as well.
And then before iqala belithetha, who's helping you now ukuthi uthola ama lawyers abazokhulumela and then benze show ukuthi whatever lena or accuser ngayo ayenzekana?
My cousin sister Nadimi was, I would say, the champion, because I think she's not an immediate relative. She was able to think out of the box without panicking. Emotions. So she quickly thought it would be on my best interest that we get a lawyer that is not from Soweto. Because it seemed at that time that there was a lot of, the case had been commercialized, there was a lot of money moving around. So the fear was, if I could get someone that could be easily paid to sell my case, I could end up behind bars and I could be sentenced.
Exactly.
So we got Advocate Dlali, who was working with Attorney Gift Ramashia. Yes, and they represented me throughout the case, and they were actually ones who were very instrumental in terms of get second opinion. Yes, they say that the child was raped. There was a J88 form that we cannot access now. Take the child to a district surgeon. They were telling my sister, take the child to a district surgeon, have another person assessing the child. And I think the good thing about that was the fact that they accused me of raping a child, a baby. If it was a grown-up, if it was an adult, it would have been very difficult to prove my innocence. So children are virgins.
Exactly.
See, so there was no way that she could be raped and then still remain a virgin. So immediately when there was a doctor that says this child has never been penetrated before, we hung on that, and we held a grip that you know what, this child is the only evidence that I have that she was never raped.
Exactly.
So at least we can do with that type of evidence. And that is actually what took me out of prison. But even when that truth had already came out, that the child had never been raped, they said that rape can not only be vaginally, it can be done in other ways, as long as it's putting something inside your body. So it could have been me putting a finger in her anus, or me using another organ of my body, not the penis. So they had to now start a new investigation altogether. Now they had to get there's a forensic social worker who does those type of cases, a Protea Dorcas Shabangu. She's with SCF. So my niece had to now undergo those type of assessments and interviews with play therapy and all to say, well, she was not raped, but is it possible that she could have been molested in other ways? So she had to go through that robust examinations, or those examinations as well.
And ultimately, how did they crack it?
It was found that my niece had never been raped or sexually molested or sexually assaulted in any way. But the sad part is that information is not coming. They don't give it to you. They don't say these were the findings of Kwena Sianego, these were the findings of Dorcas Shabangu, these were the findings of Nhlanhla Sithebe. They don't do that. They keep those. And eventually, because of they don't get to the hands of my legal representatives, they get lost. And it's not getting lost; they get taken by those that are pushing those type of cases.
Them or what?
No, they just steal them. They just steal them. Even my docket is reported to have been lost, stolen.
Wow. So, usiyaphuma manje jele.
Yes.
The feeling of that, I know it might, as much as it mele ujabule, celebrate with at least you've cracked this case. You are now proven innocent. How's the feeling immediately when you see Uti I sing Yaphuma manje?
For me, it was different. I was not eager to go out. A couple of times when I would make my appearances a Protea North, there would be people chanting outside, and pushing the van. I'm not sure if they would know on which van I would be on, because they would put us in different kwela-kwelas, those big trucks, the CPS. But because of my situation, I had a stolen foot. They would put me in a police van, and I would have sometimes the privilege of sitting in front. And other people would think it's like that because of I'm a nurse, was a Soweto, or maybe I have money to buy that type of a privilege.
They would see you ulapa.
Yes. And they would throw water bottles and sometimes push the van.
Wow.
And you can hear what they are saying, and
calling you names and all that.
Yeah, and wanting you, but but exactly. So I think there was that fear of now they are releasing me. Someone told them that guys don't look innocent, because of even the paper that they gave me, it didn't say innocent. It just said the case has been withdrawn due to insufficient evidence, meaning that I raped the child. It's just that the state cannot prove it. That's
a big one. Because now ngaphandle they'll say, vele people imali kunje, and there's no one who's like oshumayela lovangeli ngaphandle ukuthi you are innocent.
Now
exactly.
Even on the day I was released, it was not in a normal court. It was just my family, my legal representative, the prosecutor, and Detective Sibek was there. The community members were not allowed in court. It was silent on that day, so it was like, shh. And I didn't go out through the front door. I was taken. They said, no, I have to go and sign, but I'm taken at the back. So community members are just going to see me walking in the township, not knowing how was I released, why was I released.
It's even dangerous because now they'll say, nangu lo muntu lo asembambeni and all that.
True.
Yeah. And then now uphumile ngaphandle bayakwamukela labantu community, or you still having those who abakubheka ngelihlo elibi and say vele uyenzile la.
Yeah, it was a strange one. It was almost as if I've never been in Soweto before. There would be people that I know who would be brave enough to come and ask, how Mongami sizwe bathi usejele besibone eTV because of my case was covered by special assignment. So kwenzekeni uphume njani?
Exactly.
And I would have to explain, the case was withdrawn because of insufficient evidence. mara kusho ukuthi yenzekile lento or not.
Exactly, yeah.
You understand?
Those, yeah, exactly.
So having to now be the person who does
you're not explaining
the
now.
work
Yeah.
of reintegrating myself into society and saying to them, I'm coming back not as a law offender. I'm coming back as an innocent person. But no one has told them this. They were told that I'm a rapist, but no one came and told them
that you are
that
not.
no, it's actually not.
Sure.
So I had to go to churches, ask abefundisi to talk about it on
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I have a problem. No, it's understandable, man. It's an experience that you don't want to. Yeah. No, honestly. So not right. Yeah, in the meantime, Bafethu, thank you so much for watching the channel, and we really appreciate your support. This is a new channel. It's episode 1. We are here with Umongameli. Has been accused of raping his niece, falsely so. So this channel is here to help, abantu abanjalo. If now ukuthi like accuse you of raping and all that, please man, just come to us and just I'll just put the number here at the bottom for you to call. In fact, for you to WhatsApp, it's gonna be a WhatsApp number, and make sure Gucci you get help. And yeah, this something like this is something Gucci I see promoting and empowering and all that. There are people who are privileged, some that are underprivileged. So as you can see, Bafethu Mongameli, even though it has been a long time since Yenzeka this thing, however, it's something Gucci. And I just hope ukuthi abantu lapha ngaphandle they can do things baye kuba selfish and all that because of ubaba wengane ube selfish because of umongameli kade treating ingane yakhe kahle yena ehlula ukuthi I treat kahle. But yeah, all in all, Bafethu, thank you so much for joining the channel. Thank you for watching the channel, and if you haven't subscribed, just click the subscribe button and help us grow. Hopefully sizosiza abantu with this thing. But I'm sorry about that. Did you try to find help, legal help, because of you were falsely accused? Is there anything that wayizama ukuthi uyenze ukuthi at least igama lakho? I know ukuthi uyenze uyekho emasontweni and whatnot and all that, but what is that you have tried in terms of ukuya kuma legal aspect bakwazi ukuthi bayisula this thing yakho?
Okay. Yeah. Insazama ukwenza it is to try and institute litigation against the state, but
yeah.
There has been challenges there as well. Because of my case, yachithwa a court, but zange state sichithe. The SAPS would say they are still investigating because of they made it be like it's a provisional release. I was released on provisions that maybe I had an injury, on provisions that I got attacked in prison, maybe on those provisions, I don't know. But they made it a provisional release. So the state, SAPS still continued or continues to investigate. I'm not sure with the status quo with a case over EP level, but there was a guy who was assisting me, who is a lawyer, who ngiyathi mangicela ukubhala story sami ku Facebook. A lot of people started saying, you know what, ungalithola usizo lana lapha ngiye eVets law school, kwi-law clinic kunama student wama lawyers who would take my case also for their profiles and a practical component yabo. So the guy who was assisting me bekethi ma efika kwi-party ukuthi kufuneke ethole access kwi-docket yami, bethi u-interrupter or interfere ne-investigation, so it's premature for him to do so. He has to wait until the state has finished the investigation. They've been saying that since 2019 until August 2023. August 2023, prosecutor, not prosecutor, senior public prosecutor yangiphi access a court docket lami, and then what SAPS at this stage should have concluded a investigation, and then wangithumela ku Captain Ubeka. Captain Ubeka no Sergeant Makwarela ba indicate ukuthi i-SAPS seyiqedile investigation ngabuza ama-findings, but ama-findings they can't give them to me. If I need access to that, I need to have a lawyer. But now to do that, I need money because of yes, instituting litigation against the state, it can be done on pro bono basis. But to build up that case, to have a case that you will take it to a lawyer that can assist you with that needs money. I need to have money to have a lawyer that will be able to go to SAPS and demand those documents, so that I have copies of them, so that a lawyer that is interested to help me will then have those documents to push my case forward. And my fear is that the prescription period, they usually say it's 3 years. So SAPS iqede investigation yayo ngo 2023, and now it's May of 2025. So siyasondela kulo 3 years unqunyiwe, and I have not yet successfully managed to get all the information that I need from the stakeholders, so that I can be able to get at least if I could institute litigation against the state and get the compensation for the loss of income that I've suffered, the loss of livelihood, and maybe with that I can be able to kickstart my life and have a better quality of life.
And then, like, if la 3 years lapse, what happens?
Well, if they say the 3 years lapses, and you still wish to institute litigation, you would first need to get your matter condoned, meaning that you need to get to High Court, kwenziwa ama-summons to ama-departments, and then a High Court issue ukuthi with ama-reasons lawo mhlawumbe azobezwakala, bayavuma ukuthi icala lakho lisengaphinde liqhube futhi ukuthi ukwazi ukuthola ukulungiswa.
Thank you so much, Bafethu. Thank you to everyone who have been watching. You are here because of you support the channel. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Nangu Mongameli Bafethu, he was falsely accused, and udinga usizo lwenu. We know ukuthi every time everything like eMzansi or emhlabeni idinga imali and all that. If you are a lawyer there, umsamari olungileyo, and you want to come and help him ukuthi at least ageze igama lakhe and also athole compensation, please come front, Bafethu. I'll put my WhatsApp number there, and then just hit me up, and then I'll hook you up with him, so that such things zingenzeki, because of most of the time unprivileged people are the ones who get arrested for izinto ezingekho. Ube nenhlanhla like njengamanje ukuthi ungaphandle, there are those who are still inside ukuthi abenzanga lutho ezinganeni zakubo nomakhelwane and all that. Some you find ukuthi because of their boyfriend une-jealous and all that, and then they will forcibly accuse you and all that. But thank you so much Bafethu ukuthi uziveze obala. We don't know which ubani ongabukela lana and then afika kusiza and all that. All in all, I'd like to thank you, for opening up. I know it's not easy and all that, but sometimes ukuvula inhliziyo yakho nokukhuluma ngento ezinjengalezi zingakusiza. We don't know which ubani ongaphandle. You were working before uba ngaphakathi.
Yes, I was working.
As we wrap up, i-affecte kanjani economically ne-career yakho wise i-case yakho?
Well, career wise, I think it has ruined my career. I do sometimes send applications, but inkinga kubayile ukuthi you would get a job, and then you have to be vetted.
Screened,
So when they find out that there's a pending case, sexual assault, immediately they put your application aside. So that part has, kind of like ruined it all. And then financially as well, I would say it has ruined me. Because at my age, I'm heading to 40 now.
Yeah.
If you are in your late 30s, early 40s, you are unemployed
Yeah.
and want to perhaps get a new career or a new job, it becomes 10 times harder,
Yeah.
for you. So I think that that has also had that negative impact on my life.
Yeah. And then like right now, what are you doing right now?
I'm currently unemployed.
Okay.
I'm currently unemployed, and then I do odd jobs from time to time. I would sometimes hold as a locum nurse when there's a friend wishes to do me a favor or something like that.
Yes.
But it would be a very subtemporal. It would be a very subtemporal job.
Yeah.
I sometimes do TV jobs where I would work as a background actor, just so that I don't say I've spent it a whole day without doing anything.
Oh yes. Yeah. And then like lastly, where can people find you if they want to maybe reach out? I know Uchi, we have put in our channel Uchi. We want will assist in terms of like putting easily up and also putting the number. Where can they find you if they want you? Are you comfortable to disclose your contact or maybe?
Yes. I can be reached through my email address. My email address is Mongameli. It spells MONGMELI at live.com. It's Mongameli at live.com. And then you can also send me WhatsApp or a call on my cell phone number.
Yeah.
It's 063 061 6694.
Beautiful. And lastly, what is the message ongai tumela to people who were falsely accused like you, who are out there, who also they're still bottling this thing, and they are scared, which like abantu like bazothini and all that. What is your message to them?
I would say the first thing, try and reach out to someone that you can talk to. Try and find help, especially when it comes to mental health. Because the first thing I think people would experience in situations like that, it happened to me. You wish you were not here.
Exactly,
so you wish you could die.
True.
The thought starts growing, especially if you are in prison. The thought starts growing. Especially if there's so much evidence against you that you know the truth, but it's difficult for other people to know the truth that you know, or to prove the truth that you know. And unfortunately in our country, it's you who has been accused who have to prove that you did not commit that crime. Unfortunately, it's structured like that. But I would say to people, talk out, speak out, write a letter to the president. Put it on Facebook, say something, just don't kill yourself. Because if you kill yourself, then you kill yourself with the truth.
Exactly. And what's your hopes for yourself as uMongameli in your life, lastly, before we close up?
Well, I wish I could have an opportunity to have my case heard in the High Court. I wish I could have a legal representation that would, or a law firm that would really want to take my case forward and help me have access to justice. Because I feel like I'm in a vacuum. I've been released from prison, but I still remain accused. I'm not innocent. And that is one of the most frustrating situations a young person can experience. I still wish one day I could get married and have children. So from the age of 32, I'm now 39 years old. My whole life has been put on hold.
I know saying you say lastly, I'll always say lastly, but I wanted to know with your relationship now with this beautiful girl who calls you Mume.
Yes.
How is your relationship now? Are you having access to her? And like, I think this is gonna be a second last question. Or you still in a distance like relationship now?
Okay. Well, shortly after I was released from prison, the first thing that I did was to look for her, and with the help of a journalist,
Yeah.
Mamuzinhle Mugabe.
Yeah.
Dlamini.
From where? From
She wa-
publication?
she was working for a SABC special assignment.
Oh, okay.
She was covering my case while I was in prison, when I came out of prison, and then when she finally found that I was innocent, she became, one of the people that were
Wow.
rooting for me.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So we found her as a Khalishiwe in Kimberley.
Kimberley, yeah.
We with the assistance of the SAPS,
Yeah.
Gauteng and Northern Cape, we were able to get her and reunite her with her mother. And when I was finally released from hospital,
Yeah.
she came and stayed with me until she started grade R.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes, so we still have good relationship.
Yeah.
We see each other every day.
Mm.
Every weekend, she sometimes write me letters when I'm not in Gauteng.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, she's a very bubbly, young, happy girl.
Beautiful. And have you recovered Unyawen?
Yeah, I have healed, but the type of injury I suffered is a lifelong injury.
Okay.
I'm not able to run or to go down the stairs without support,
Yeah.
but I'm able to walk without support. I don't use a cane.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but I do limp, and it's going to be a limp of a life.
No, man, I wish you all the best, my brother, and thank you once more for your braveness. And I think abantu laba ngaphandle abane case efana neyakho, today at least they will be able, to come out of their shell and make sure ukuthi they talk about this, and hopefully namalayas laba ngaphandle, they will come and assist you, for you at least ukuthi uthole usizo oludingayo.
And I'm ngiyabonga futhi.
Thank you so
Ngiyabonga
much.
ngokuphela opportunity.
Thank you so much, Bafethu. Yeah, indaba kaMongameli leyo, it's a sad story. I'm happy ukuthi at least ukwazi ukuthi asiveze kuthina, and yeah, to those who are suffering from the same problem, Bafethu, don't hesitate. Just hit us up. Here's our WhatsApp number at the bottom, and make sure that you just WhatsApp us, and then we will come to your place, just channel which will be, and yeah, and please, Bafethu, to all the lawyers abalapha ngaphandle, who would like to help to that, please help him. Udinga ukuthi abuyisele impilo yakhe esimeni, akwazi ukuthola umsebenzi, uyathola umsebenzi emncane lapha nalapha, but then uyindoda naye, he needs to make sure ukuthi uyondla ifamily yakhe naye aziphilise. Yeah, so thank you so much to everyone who have been supporting the channel. To those who haven't subscribed, just click the subscribe button and help us reach the standard that we need to reach. For now, this is our first episode, and yeah, we're just here to give you the news, and please give us your ear and your eyes, and also hit that like button, and also that notification button, and also make sure that you tell Abu Makelwan which they must come and subscribe and help us grow. Thank you so much.